The world's wealthiest countries are going broke. Why is no one talking about this? It is mind-boggling that prosperous nations, often aid providers to other countries, are grappling with financial challenges, defying their global economic stature. Join me on this adventure as I lead you deeper than your initial perception to unveil what makes these countries wealthier than others, what is causing this unprecedented decline in fortune. Countries with deep pockets, global influence, military might, abundant oil and gas reserves, and a wealth of precious resources are probably what you picture when you think of the richest nations on the planet. And you're absolutely spot on. These are the countries that, if they ever locked horns, it would be nothing short of a global showdown, a bona fide world war. Their policies affect every other country in the world in one way or another. In fact, some underdeveloped and developing nations see them as the real head of their nations. Yeah, they may not outrightly say it. Still, it is evident in every fiscal and monetary policy they make that nearly borders on xenocentrism. Should I mention names? Not today.
Today's event will focus on the US-Pakistan assistance relationship. Pakistan has received more than $20 billion, $20.9 billion in U.S. assistance, economic, security, humanitarian, and military reimbursements since 9/11. Congress appropriated more than $18 billion of this assistance, including $10.5 billion for economic development and humanitarian aid.
Now let's take a stroll through the corridor of riches, where we have nations like the United States, often called the homeland by many who rush into it due to its favorable economy. Russia being the largest country in the world. Luxembourg, which, although small, has attracted larger countries to itself. Italy, which houses both the headquarters of the Roman Catholic Church and the most powerful mafia in the world. The United Arab Emirates, which houses the two largest tourist cities in the world. Ireland, famous for its Guinness exports to the world, and a few other countries. If you've guessed any of these countries, you are again absolutely right. These wealthy nations might seem almost invisible and untouchable. However, despite your assumptions, most are now on the brink of financial disaster and going broke.
Well, I didn't say it wasn't alarming. It was, they're pointing out something that they're working on and that they're on the case. That I'm not sure whether they mentioned, I think they did actually, they mentioned that they had taken regulatory action, matter or supervisory action in the form of matters requiring attention. So I think that was also in the presentation. I think it was to say, yes, this is a bank and there are many other banks that are experiencing these things, and we're on the case.
We see these countries as the wealthiest in the world for a reason, and rightly so. They encompass a range of features, including early industrialization, technological advancements, abundant natural resources, substantial investments in the agricultural sector, the highest levels of economic development, major financial centers, multinational corporations, and lucrative tourist hubs. Some of these countries were also affected by world wars, civil conflicts, colonialism, and unstable governments that led to policy changes impacting businesses. I do not think we are far-fetched if we agree that they earned their wealth through struggle and stood at the peak of the economic ladder. When we visualize these countries, what comes to mind are sprawling mansions, flashy cars, and extravagant parties. They have long reveled in the glory of their prosperity. But behind all the glitz and glam we envy, a sneaky tangle of economic challenges is quietly brewing. One of the most significant curses these wealthy nations grapple with, which marks the start of their decline, is overdependency. We notice this particularly in countries blessed with vast natural resources. Now these resources can be anything from oil, gas, minerals, you name it. When a country hits the jackpot with these resources, it might seem like they have struck gold. But instead of leveraging these resources to diversify their economies, they become overly reliant on them to the point where they grow too comfortable and start relying too heavily on these resources as their only source of income. Take Russia, for instance, known as the motherland of the world due to its vast size and significant global power given by its endowment with natural resources, especially oil. For years, the Russian economy was hugely dependent on oil revenue. So, when the oil prices plummeted and many policies were restricting them from exporting oil to other countries due to their war with Ukraine, Russia began to face a terrible financial crisis. It is like putting all your eggs in one basket. When that basket breaks, you're in trouble.
There was a reduction in the flow of Russian oil and gas, other materials, minerals in particular, to their Western markets.
Take a look at Luxembourg, too. This country is so tiny that they say it is 6,612 times smaller than Russia. Yet it is the richest in the world, second only to Ireland. For years, their iron ore used in making steel was their most significant export and cash cow, and they funded many government programs with money from it. But when these resources were exhausted, Luxembourg's economy was tailed, leading to hyperinflation, unemployment, and a humanitarian crisis. Economists call this the Dutch disease, a fancy name for a terrible situation, right?
I'm talking about Dutch disease, the phenomenon where foreign money comes into a country. It makes your currency more expensive because more people are demanding your currency. By making your currency more expensive, other people will find, for example, your agricultural export more expensive. And so you will not be able to export as much. You will find other people's goods less expensive, so you are more inclined to import. If you will find yourself as a country importing more and exporting less, you will soon run into financial difficulty.
You still don't see how this can make wealthy nations go broke? Let me explain it better. Imagine your country is dealing with some economic troubles. Suddenly, there's a boom in investments related to natural resources and loads of foreign money start pouring in. Sounds good, right? Well, here's the twist. All this foreign cash strengthens your country's money, meaning you can buy stuff from other countries for less. Great for your shopping, but not so great for your country's industries like farming and manufacturing, as these industries are super important for your country's long-term health and competitiveness. So, as everyone jumps on the resource bandwagon, they start ditching these other sectors. And what happens next? The industries that used to provide jobs and export goods slow down. People lose their jobs, and your country starts relying way too much on selling those natural resources. It's like going all in on one hand of cards. If you lose that hand, you're in a tough spot. Now, this is what these rich countries are facing at the moment that is making them go broke. As if that is not bad enough, they also battle rising debt levels. The constant piling up of debt leads to inflation, higher taxes, and slower economic growth. It's like a drum of water that everyone dips into. If too much is taken, the drum will eventually dry up and become useless. This is what is happening with many countries due to their massive debt. Italy, for instance, a country that, when you think of it, the first thing that comes to mind is its art, literature, and fashion, has the highest debt to GDP ratios in the Eurozone, second only to Greece.
Which is really a crisis of the euro area. It's not a national crisis of Greece, a national crisis of Portugal, of Ireland, not even of Italy. It's really a crisis of the euro area that originates from two main reasons. One is a concern from financial markets operators that the euro area as a whole is not growing enough to support an increasing public debt. And secondly, there's been an insufficient appreciation among European policymakers about the potential for externalities generated from being part of a monetary union.
Their failure to raise enough taxes to finance their public spending and lack of domestic market competition have strained the country's finances. The United States is in the same debt boat with its national debt sky high, all thanks to years of deficit spending, economic crisis, and, well, a lot of borrowing. And even its debt ceiling is not helping them this time.
The corresponding picture in the United States is far, far gloomier. The total federal debt in the United States amounted to 34 trillion US dollars the end of 2022.
The U.S. has been borrowing money for ages, from the American Revolution when they started racking up debt to fund the fight for freedom. This is not exactly a new thing, but this time around, it's different. Why? Well, for one, it's the interest these debts have been piling up for years. Another is the tax cuts and deductions, which have reduced government revenue and have led to budget shortfalls. The military is another cause for their rising debt. The United States loves to keep peace and show off its military muscle, but maintaining a top-notch army costs a boatload of cash, especially when the economy is going through hard times. And when it seemed like there was a reprieve to the effect of all these, the hardest one struck, hitting the whole world, the COVID-19 pandemic.
Due to the heightened alert to the growing coronavirus outbreak, and for the safety of all, Mid-Michigan Health reminds you,
this was a trying period. It felt like the world turned upside down overnight. Lives were lost, businesses closed, travel stopped, and the world's economies hit the brakes hard and came to a forceful standstill. But here's the kicker. Even wealthy countries with robust economies got slammed. It's like the whole world hit pause. Wealthy countries like the United States and the United Arab Emirates saw it all. People lost their jobs, businesses struggled to stay afloat, their governments did what they could by throwing heaps of cash at pandemic-related problems.
Aimed at addressing the evolving COVID-19 situation and the need for economic recovery. The Department for Communities has surrendered $4 million of funding in relation to its COVID-19 Supporting People programme response due to the use of existing funding to provide this support and lower than anticipated PPE costs. The Executive had previously held $2.2 million for its contribution to a ferry operator scheme run by the Department of Transport in England. Latest indications are that the cost will be $0.35 million, thereby releasing $1.85 million for reallocation.
And where did that cash come from? Borrowing. National debt soared as countries tried to keep the lights on. And 3 years after the life and economic changing pandemic, these countries are still picking up the pieces. To quickly bounce back, companies and businesses in the U.S. and other wealthy nations started adopting the stakeholder principle endorsed by the World Economic Forum. This was to ensure the safety of employees, safeguard uninterrupted business relations with suppliers and customers, maintain reasonable prices for vital goods for end consumers, provide comprehensive assistance to governments and society, sustain the long-term viability of companies and shareholders, and uphold ongoing sustainable initiatives. And while these rich countries are still tackling the results of the pandemic crisis, a bigger threat came upon them: the invasion of artificial intelligence. AI, as it is so fondly called, brought some cool innovations, but it's also thrown a curveball, leading to job cuts and even cranking up poverty levels in these countries.
Scenarios. So this is sort of to project, we're actually thinking that this is a scenario where 50% of jobs from today's employment have disappeared. So that's how we're going to try and imagine. I know it's a difficult thing to imagine, especially we've seen some reports this week from the World Economic Forum saying that jobs will be lost to artificial intelligence, but many more jobs will be replaced. So
AI is like the tech wizard of the modern era. It's everywhere, from self-driving cars to virtual assistants. It's even become a regular at your local grocery store self-checkout. It's also pretty good at some jobs, maybe too good. It does tasks faster and more accurately than humans, and by doing so, some jobs are being replaced. Think about it. Self-checkout kiosks are replacing cashiers, and robots are working in warehouses. It's like a futuristic sci-fi movie, but it's happening for real in rich countries like the United States, Russia, Ireland, and many others. Now here's where things get real. When jobs start disappearing, it can hit communities hard. People lose their incomes, leading to one of the causes of poverty and unemployment in these countries, adding to one of the reasons why they are getting broke. Between the last quarter of 2022 and 2023, over 10,000 people have lost their jobs in the United States due to AI. The United States, for instance, has seen a rise in automation in manufacturing and retail, which means job losses in those sectors. While the World Economic Forum claims that AI will take away over 85 million jobs and will provide 97 million jobs in fields ranging from big data and machine learning to digital marketing and information security, the question on the minds of people in these countries where their government and employers can afford to get any artificial intelligence and robot is If AI succeeds in taking over the jobs of every single one of them, will the 95 million jobs be enough to go around to reduce the unemployment level and boost the economy of the country? It turns out that AI has become the common man's nightmare. While this is a very trying period for these wealthy countries, one thing that you and I should bear in mind is their resilient spirit. They didn't just become the richest countries for nothing. Even now, they have started implementing innovative solutions to see them through, like trying to diversify their economy, like Russia is doing, introducing more favorable policies for businesses to help boost the economy, and balancing the need for debt reduction through economic growth. Do you think they will succeed? With the way things seem to be going south for them currently, how long do you think it will take before they get there? All right, people, that's a wrap on today's eye-opening journey into why the richest countries in the world are getting broke. If you found this video as insightful as we did, ensure you hit the like button. And if you haven't already, smash the subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you never miss out on our future explorations of the world's most intriguing topics. Plus, we love hearing your thoughts. Share your comments down below. Thanks for joining us today on this incredible journey. Until next time, stay curious and keep exploring.